did Chris Getz actually assemble a more competitive roster than people think? Now,
I've been
again,
noodling around with that idea too. I didn't want to give you any hints that I might be thinking that, but I've thought about that. Maybe are we piling on the White Sox a little bit too much?
yeah, I think they're going to be better than predicted. I'm not,
I think you're right, actually.
and there's some, again, it's spring training, but there's some spring training trends like their pitching staff is fifth in strikeouts with 178. I think the Tigers are first or second. But just putting that in perspective, because we talk about the Tigers pitching staff, arguably one of the best pitching staffs, probably the best pitching staff in the AL Central, really, if they stay healthy.
Yeah, it's not tough competition there, but yeah,
But
I think
yeah,
there's potential.
yeah, but like Fadid and Soraka, and I'm removing Cease from this conversation, by the way. Fadid and Soraka
Mm.
have a 3.60 ERA right now.
Oh no, we're doing this.
Well, just
Okay.
just just some things to look at for just like
Okay.
storylines, like
All right.
Chad Cole is 3.86. Garrett Crochet has yet to let up a run. Will he be in the
All
starting
right.
rotation or not? Bailey Horn, who they recently acquired from the Cubs, who's slated as a starter as a 1.8 ERA. But then you got question marks like fucking Kopech still looks like a mess. His ERA is 7.71, and Tuki Toussaint, who they're probably just going to end up cutting, has a 59 ERA. So it's not all cupcakes and rainbows, but there are like the one stat that stands out to me the most is that they're fifth with strikeouts. And usually when you have that ability on your pitching staff to strike out batters at that high of a rate, you usually end up with some pretty decent results overall. So that
I
that
think,
one,
I mean, of course, you take all spring training
yeah, right,
stats with a grain of
exactly.
salt, but I think the other thing to maintain to think about is, like we said, we've been piling on the White Sox for years, and it reached its lowest point last year. I think everything that could go wrong went wrong for the Sox. So maybe just the law of averages states they can't be nearly as bad as they were last year. That I think, I mean, that's a kind of a ridiculous way for to have optimism, I guess, but it can't be any worse. But I think that there's a potential there that it's so easy to rip on the White Sox and the media and us and everybody is it's what they've done is less than inspiring in this first offseason under Chris Getz as the royalization of the organization continues. But maybe we need to step back a little bit and see what's actually happening instead of just assuming every move they've made is going to be a failure.
Right.
Maybe the players on the roster start to get back towards what's on the back of their baseball card. The positive regression potentially. So I think other than spring training stats, I think there's reason to think about everyone's perception of the White Sox and how that might be overruling a potential better reality that might exist.
Yeah, I'm not proclaiming playoffs here, but I think they'll be
No, me neither.
more watchable and enjoyable than last season's team. And I'm very confident that defensively it won't be as much of an abomination as it's been, and that alone will keep the
Yeah.
pace of the game up. And I think someone had quipped earlier in the season, the Sox put together a defensively strong and offensively weak team just so the games don't last that long this season. So,
That's a good one.
yeah, so that could be the case, but we'll have to spend a couple hours watching this disaster. But I do think they'll be closer to like a mid 70s type of win season, maybe low
Yeah.
80s.
We'll get into our Nostradamus predictions in a couple weeks, but yeah, I'm curious where you're going to land on that when we get to that show.
So what will greatly affect the White Sox and how they go is Will Mancada suddenly live up to the hype in a very convenient contract year. And
I think there's high potential for that.
what I'm going with is yes, because
Yeah.
he's going
Yeah.
to. This is what we're going to learn about Yohan Mancada this year. That what you had said, what you had preached about Han in these contracts is going to come to fruition in that when money is on the line, he is suddenly going to become the player we want him to be and
Yeah.
have heard about he could be. Because there's a lot on the line here. He's not looking at anywhere near the money he's getting this year if he doesn't perform to the back of
Yeah.
that baseball card. And even if he does,
He's
it's questionable if he'll get anything. He'll probably get within the ballpark, but like there is so much on the line for him this year that I think he's going to push himself in ways he's never pushed himself before.
I'd be shocked if he got a deal coming out of this season that approaches $24 million a year that he'll be receiving this season. You know, you were referencing my diatribes for years against Rick Hahn for signing young players to long extensions, which is actually Rick Hahn was kind of ahead of the curve because you're seeing that a lot more. The Braves are more famous for that than anyone, but my Tigers even jumped in on that with the Colt Keith deal. Unfortunately for Rick Hahn, he chose the wrong players to extend young in their career, and I think it's pretty obvious what happened with Moncada. As we've seen, he's very comfortable with his multi-million-dollar contract, making 24 this year. I don't know what he's made over that time, but motivation, it's that's really hard to question someone's motivation, but it just seems obvious when you see him play that the motivation isn't there. The other example I cite is when we did see him in the World Baseball Classic when he was playing for his home country. He looked like the best player in the world for a period of a couple of weeks. So that potential is there. We just rarely see it out of him. So motivation feels like a money motivation or patriotism seem to be strong motivators for him. And with that carrot out there, as his contract is ending after the season,
Yep.
seems likely that he could find that motivation. We've heard about injuries a lot with him, and it takes him a long time to come back from things, or he's dealing with stuff, playing through it, which is admirable. But again, how much of that do we know is him? His motivation is willingness to fight through injuries, or are those excuses potentially? So
Yep.
I don't know. This is it. This is the year we find out who is the real Moncada. Is he injury prone? Is he will he live up to the number one prospect ratings he had at one point? Can he be that best player on your roster? And he's got all the reasons to do it this season. I mean, I don't even how old is he still? Is he like even 27? I mean, he's got to
Yeah,
be
he's in
entering
his
the
he's like
prime.
28 or 29, I think.
Yeah, this is where he's entered. This is the big deal that he could be getting on top of the big deal he's already received. This is everything
Yeah,
for the
he's
rest of his
28.
career. Okay, yeah, he's in the wheelhouse. So if he has that season, this is where the big money comes. I'd be shocked though if he gets considering the landscape we saw this past off season,
Oh God,
with how
yeah.
free agents worked, how that would work. I think he's destined for a pillow deal, much like the 3 year Bellinger and Chapman deals we just saw, where there's maybe opt outs, but to keep that carrot out there for him. I don't think anyone would want to sign him to a long term deal, considering what we've seen him do on a long term deal early in his career. So yeah, somehow I doubt it's going to be approaching the $24 million, but
Yeah.
that's a huge. Again, that changes your lineup dramatically if you've got a dangerous Yohan Moncada. So that's going to be fascinating to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I mean, because you look, it would be Minkata at 2, Robert at 3, Jimenez at 4. I mean,
That could be
that
terrifying. We've
that
always thought that was going to be terrifying. Yeah,
it
it
sounds
hasn't really come
terrifying
through.
from a video game
Yes.
standpoint. From MLB The Show
Yes.
24, it's terrifying. From
Yeah.
reality, it isn't. And that brings me to my final storyline. Will Eloy stay off the IR? And I'm going to go with
Yeah.
no, he will
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
And the sad thing about it is Eloy's numbers are solid. Like Minkata's numbers are iffy. Like they're up and down and all over the place, healthy or not healthy. I mean, really, Minkata's best season was the year before he got the big contract. So there you go. When Eloy's on the field, he will do whatever it takes. He will hit to the right side to drive in the run and not just look to like drive the ball out of the park. He's a very smart hitter with his approach. His numbers are incredible, but he cannot stay on the field. And I don't know why this year. I have no reason to believe this year will be any different than years prior, which will be part of the reason the Sox don't have as much success as they could have, because they're kind of like this team offensively that if you can't keep the starters on the field, then at least the core group of guys of like him and Robert, who basically has avoided injury, Mancada, and we'll see what Vaughn does this year. But like those guys need to be out there because they're the pop in the lineup. The rest of the lineup are fast, speedier, just on base guys, not
Mhm.
OPS guys, but just on base guys. So, and that's even questionable because like I think Paul DeYoung hit like fucking 220 last year or something. Who knows? But like, I just, you know, I don't have a lot of faith that, unfortunately, that Eloy will be on the field for more than maybe like 110 games this year, and that's just not going to get it done.
I think that'd be pretty good. If you can pencil him as 110, that'd be more than usual. I haven't looked up at how many games he's played in the last 5 years, but it's not much not much more than that, so
I remember that crazy stat. Wasn't that like the core roster? Didn't they only play something like a dozen games together? Like
yeah, we did a
everyone,
whole segment about that. I don't remember
yeah,
now, but yeah, it was crazy how
it's
few games. It was like 12. Yeah, I think like 12 games they played together.
over like a 4 year span. That's
Yeah,
fucked
how they
up,
were all in the
man.
lineup on the same day.
Yeah, that's
It's
super
crazy.
fucked up.
Wordhole Media.